because he's been hit by his little...
Two more right hands and a left uppercut. Fifth goes down.
Mike Tyson called him the most dangerous man he ever faced.
And Ruddock, another good 2 shots.
When Razor Ruddock entered the ring, heavyweight contenders suddenly remembered urgent appointments on the other side of the planet. Today we're diving into the highlight reel of Donovan Razor Ruddock, the man whose left hook should have been registered as a lethal weapon in 48 states and most of Canada. April 1990, Madison Square Garden. Ruddock faced the seasoned warrior Michael Dynamite Dokes. Before the fight, few believed in the Canadian's chances. Dokes was in tremendous shape, a battle-tested former WBA heavyweight champion who had pushed Evander Holyfield to the absolute limit.
Position, they don't want to fight anybody.
Punch.
Dokes was outclassing the hungry Canadian on sheer experience, using his polished skills to frustrate the power puncher.
Ruddock's left hand. Sharp.
It was only near the end of the round that Ruddock managed to connect with his signature weapon, a thunderous left hook that rattled Dynamite.
So that left hook makes the down when Ruddock builds, no right hand.
In the second round, Ruddock, accustomed to Dokes' style, decided not to hand the initiative to the veteran again.
Right hand, right hand. Legs it off. Dokes went down to the second straight.
In the fourth round, the smash registered in Madison Square Garden as a weapon of mass destruction did its work flawlessly, shattering Dokes' resistance. The punch sent Dokes on an all-expenses-paid trip to Dreamland, first-class accommodation with an extended stay package. The smash had officially been introduced to the world. Kimuel Odum entered this bout with supreme confidence, boasting in interviews that he might score a knockout and leave his mark on the rising Canadian.
Might be a KO. I might have to put my initials on him.
When Ruddock stepped through the ropes, his menacing presence seemed to drain the color from Odum's face as reality set in.
11 knockouts in his 12 victories, and a guy who has really taken this opportunity to its full top form for the July 1st date, so the fight was postponed. He can fight. Now Ruddock driving Odum. A big right to the air and a left. He's got Odum in some trouble here. But Odum fired.
The fight began with cautious exchanges, but once Ruddock found his rhythm, he started connecting with increasing frequency and power.
You throw those big bombs, sometimes you'll leave yourself. James Broad, Bone Crushers, guys in their prime at the time that he scheduled 10-round.
At the end of one round, Odum decided to play tough guy, which naturally couldn't go unanswered from a man forged in Kingston's unforgiving streets.
The end of round 2. Now watch what happens here after the bell. Home because his judgment, he was hurting Ruddock.
There was that right hand that Odom, so he took the weekend. He's wide open when he's walking.
The referee issued a point deduction to Odum, but this minor penalty would prove meaningless as his fate was already sealed.
The Ruddock's standing around. Who knows what's going on?
Now Ruddock, 3 left hooks, one of them locking Odum back in on it. And he stops the flurry of Ruddock.
3 devastating left hooks backed Odum into the ropes, and Ruddock followed with a crushing combination that sent his opponent into a deep, peaceful slumber.
Distance puts him very, very important. Oh, right in the left hand. It was a short right hand that did the damage. Watch for the short right hand that sets this up. There's the right to the head and then the left hand behind it. Actually, it wasn't as short as I thought. It was a real haymaker.
Reggie Gross was a seasoned heavyweight who had shared the ring with the heavyweight king Mike Tyson and had him hurt. The experienced warrior entered the bout, confident that his veteran savvy would overcome the young destroyer's raw aggression. Gross was trying to establish his jab and control distance, but Ruddock's relentless pressure began to break down his defenses. It was in the second round that Ruddock finally struck like lightning, a perfectly timed straight right that sliced through Gross's armor like a sword through silk. The punch landed with the force of a sledgehammer, sending Gross plummeting to the canvas like a fallen oak tree.
Want Reggie die wil doorgaan, die heeft helemaal niet in de gaten dat het eigenlijk...
Ruddock had harvested another soul with the precision of a surgeon, proving that his power was evolving into something truly monstrous.
Camera's genoeg in Atlantic City, dus we gaan het nog een keer bewonderen. Nu van de rug gezien van Razor Ruddock.
James Bone Crusher Smith was a fighter whose nickname spoke volumes about his bone-crushing abilities in the ring.
And he takes a bit of some replay there now.
This was the same man who had given Mike Tyson a challenging night, going all 12 rounds with the Dynamite Kid in his prime. Smith had mocked Ruddock's technique in the press conference, claiming the Canadian was all power, no skill, words he would soon regret. Smith entered confidently, and in the second round, he landed an overhand right that face-planted Ruddock to the canvas.
And punch to the fight, a right hand by Smith.
Look at that big right hand of the Bone Crushers. There it is, right on the side of the head. He knows where he is at the moment.
Bone Crusher was ready to finish the business, but Ruddock wasn't prepared to surrender. Well-timed clinching saved him from the brink of defeat. Ruddock shook off that knockdown like a dog shakes off water. A brief inconvenience before getting back to business. Smith's momentary celebration aged about as well as milk left in the sun.
The hometown hero in red, Razor Ruddock.
Gavin said he's flat-footed.
The lopsided beating reached its conclusion in round 7, when Ruddock's devastating smash pierced through Smith's guard and toppled the veteran champion.
He's in trouble, Tim. 2 more right hands and a left uppercut. Smith goes down.
Baines finds the left hand, right hand right on the button. But again, this time he comes back with that half hook. Nailed him again, has him in...
Larry Alexander was an experienced heavyweight with over 50 fights under his belt, a seasoned campaigner who believed his ring knowledge would prove too much for the young Canadian.
56 pounds.
In his demonstrable fierceness.
Norris in 222.
The fight started like a chess match, as both fighters tried to find their timing and establish their range. Ruddock's left hook circled around his opponent's defenses like a shark that smelled blood in the water. A leaping left hook went through Alexander's guard like a hot knife through butter, putting him on shaky legs.
And Larry Alexander, all of them, is in trouble.
Standing 8 count could be given, and I wonder if...
Ruddock searched desperately for that finishing left hook, but the bell saved the groggy Alexander from further punishment.
Alexander does not, and so far certainly...
The second round began with Alexander trying the rope-a-dope strategy, but when he thought his plan was working, Ruddock exploded with a combination that flattened Alexander like a fallen tree.
2 lefts, hit him with a right, left. That left hand. His undoing. There's a right hand, but watch this left. And he comes down like a... Looked like King Kong falling off the top of the Empire State Building.
Mike Rouse was selected as Ruddock's tune-up opponent, a fighter with similar physical dimensions, but vastly different skill levels. From the opening bell, it became clear that Rouse was outgunned in every department against the rising Canadian destroyer. Ruddock stalked his prey methodically, landing heavy shots while Rouse struggled to mount any meaningful offense. A thunderous combination sent Rouse crashing to the canvas, his legs betraying him under Ruddock's relentless assault. Rouse somehow beat the count, rising like a zombie from a B-movie, and attempted a desperate comeback, swinging wildly in hopes of changing his fortune. But Ruddock ended the charade with a perfectly placed smash that shut off Rouse's lights permanently, completing a first-round demolition job. Eddie Richardson was one of Ruddock's early opponents who had heard whispers about the power hidden in the young Canadian's fists.
Arrived at the forum for about an hour and a half before they took...
After trash-talking Ruddock's power in interviews, Richardson started backpedaling faster than a politician caught in a scandal.
A shorter fighter, so this has to throw his strategy off somewhat.
Well, sure, when you're...
Feeling momentarily safe, the tall, brazen man made the fatal mistake of bullying the fighter who had grown up in the harsh streets of Jamaica.
Fans at the forum were
Ruddock unleashed his devastating trademark smash, and the fight instantly transformed into a brutal hunting game, with Richardson as the helpless prey.
Richardson is in an awful lot of...
Razor began beating Richardson with fury. The first blow concussed him, the second tested his will, and the third sent him to the shadow realm.
He's just doing the wrong thing.
Another right hand.
His body crashing to the canvas like a demolished building. Phil Jackson was a dangerous knockout artist who had shared rings with elite heavyweights Lennox Lewis and Vitaly Klitschko.
After a left that sends Jackson down.
The veteran entered this contest believing his experience and heavy hands would overwhelm Ruddock during his rebuilding phase.
Remember, this is obey my commands. What Floyd Patterson has been trying to teach him, work some jabs, combinations. See what effect it has on him. Jackson said he wasn't invited. Jackson told us he thinks Ruddock is taking it too lightly and looking ahead, not taking any chances. Oh, what a right hand! A right hand! Solid blows by Ruddock.
From the opening bell, Ruddock established his jab and began systematically breaking down Jackson's aggressive tendencies.
Round 2 scheduled for 10. This jaw, he has never been down. 233 has the big reach advantage.
The Canadian's superior boxing IQ became evident as he consistently beat Jackson to the punch while avoiding return fire.
Says, well, if there's one thing you learned from round 2, solid shot. Heavy left there by Ruddock. The youngster, but turned it around.
Sensing the fight slipping away, Jackson abandoned his game plan and began loading up on wild power shots, hoping for a miracle.
Right out the front door. He's been hit by his... Oh, and down he goes on 2. And let's see what dropped him. Well, that was a punch right on the head. That was not in the...
But Ruddock capitalized on Jackson's recklessness with a perfectly timed counter that dropped the veteran and sealed another impressive victory.
Yeah, he dropped his hand to punch. From a tough knockdown, he almost went down again. He's staggered. Down to one knee is Philip Jackson. Finish you off when he gets you. There's a good hook, and he's gone right there and comes back, waiting the third time, so there's no doubt that that was one of the hard hooks of the evening, and that the second one was unnecessary.
Ken Lakusta was Ruddock's fellow countryman, a Canadian heavyweight who stood between Razor and his first major championship opportunity.
About his future, he didn't want to talk too much about.
At 18-1-1 in the red, the Canadian heavyweight title is on the line as Ruddock.
Ken disrespected Ruddock by casually stretching before the fight. Maybe he thought flexibility would help him dodge the inevitable hospital visit.
Heavyweight title on the line in
Uppercut from Razor Ruddock.
Ruddock's reach is 81, Lakusta's 75.5, solid left.
From the first exchanges, Lakusta decided to provoke Razor by landing a hard shot, which was far too dangerous a strategy. After that mistake, Ruddock stopped showing courtesy and began dismantling Lakusta's head with punishing precision.
3 straight left hooks, never followed with the right hand.
There's a right hand, Lakusta's in trouble.
Having endured enough disrespect, Ruddock, via his bone-shattering punches, prepared Lakusta for an early retirement from their championship contest. This was the man who shook hands with fear itself, Donovan Razor Ruddock, the destroyer who made even Iron Mike Tyson respect his devastating power. How would you feel stepping into the ring with a monster like Ruddock? Would you stand and trade, or try to box from the outside? This was the Boxing Lab. Thank you for watching.